Obviously, a lot of people think it's degrading to women, porn. I mean, that's probably the number one argument that people would have against it. So what are your thoughts on that?
It isn't for me.
I'm here with the amazing Sophie Locke, who just put on quite an unexpected show for us and all her viewers. Would you call them viewers?
Sure.
Guests?
I don't know. Yeah, regulars, premiums.
Did you know everyone in the room tonight?
No. I don't know all of them. I knew a fair number of them though, which is good.
Okay.
Yeah.
For the uninitiated, can you tell us what is a cam girl?
It is a woman who works on the internet via webcam. So usually just does shows for money.
Okay, and what would I suppose there'd be a range of different ways of doing a show.
Sure.
Can you explain that to us a bit? Yeah.
Sure. I mean, it can be anything from just talking completely clothed to masturbation to multiple girl shows. It really has a pretty wide range of things that you can do.
So it's a bit weird, like, to imagine someone doing a show clothed and people paying for that.
Well, there are plenty of girls who are considered non-nude, and so they never take off their clothes, and they just play games or they get to know the guys. Maybe they'll do a girlfriend experience sort of role play, but they'll never take off their clothes. They'll never masturbate, and there are some girls who can make a good living at it. I enjoy the sexual part of it, so that's not something that I've ever wanted to try and do. But yeah, that exists too. Amazingly.
So did that surprise you when you got into it? That
Yes.
people would just want to chat and watch someone sit around?
Sure. Yeah, most of as you saw, and then for my longer shows too, probably 80% of it is just chatting. It's just talking. It's being silly or having little games to do. Most of it is just talking, at least for me. So other girls do teasing and things like that, but I don't think I'm coy or graceful enough to do teasing. I'm pretty much in your face and talkative. That's my style.
So what do you mean by teasing exactly?
Some girls will do, like, they'll spend the entire show slowly stripping or looking at the camera and being kind of graceful and I don't know. It's very sexy. It's a very good way to cam, but it's certainly not something I'm comfortable doing.
So it's more like flirtation.
It is, yeah. It's more of a seductive thing. They're seducing you.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So how did you get into this whole world?
Well, I was already into BDSM with my partner, who I'm still with, and I've always been very sexually adventurous. I was swinging and doing stuff with girls since I was in high school. So I had a high sex drive. I was in a job that I didn't necessarily love. I couldn't see myself going anywhere really with it. And my boyfriend got laid off, actually. He got his place downsized, and we were looking for something else to do. And I found this, and I put a lot of thought into it. I knew my family wouldn't be very happy with it, but it just seemed like a really good fit, and I tried it and loved it. So that's what we've been doing for the past almost 5 years now.
So tell us how it works then, like how you do make a living out of it.
Oh gosh, I get on maybe 3 or 4 times a week. It's taken years to build up a following and to find out what works and what doesn't. You do have to be flexible. I have a plan every time I go on. It's, tonight I'll be going for this kind of show or that kind of show. I'll offer this video or that video. You do have to kind of be on top of your game with creating content or being creative or knowing what you're doing. I don't know. It just, luckily people want to pay for things, The old model was exclusively one-on-one private chats. So you'd pay a certain amount per minute and you'd take me into a private chat where it's just me and you, and you'd say, I want you to do this. And as long as it's within your limits and you're okay with it, then you'd do that for him and you'd get paid per minute. But what I just did was a public show where everyone can see it, but everyone contributes a little bit or a lot, to make it happen. And it's kind of more of a group communal thing.
Yeah, it seems pretty social.
It's wonderfully social. I love that aspect of it,
Do the people in your room, do they interact with one another, or?
They do. It's kind of like we all interact together. I think someone made a really good analogy once that it's kind of like going to your favorite bar and there's like a really cute bartender and you kind of chat with and you get to know the other guys at the bar, but you're tipping the girl for the drinks and also for the conversation, and you're there to kind of see her, but you're also there to hang out with everybody too.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. So you mentioned your family a second ago. You were worried that what their reaction would be. How's that gone?
Oh gosh, that's a saga. That's how much time do you have? I actually came out to my family about 2.5 years into doing it, and it was just too hard to lie anymore. And I was proud of what I'd accomplished, and we've created a corporation and events and things like that, and have been pretty successful at it. So I was tired of lying, and I don't feel like there's anything wrong with consenting adults doing these sort of things. I'm unfortunately still basically estranged from my mom and my sisters, but my dad and stepmom have been really supportive and wonderful. But yeah, I'm not welcome home at Christmas and things like that with my mom's side. So it's been really tough, but I'm the happiest I've ever been otherwise, and focused, and I feel like this is where I'm meant to be in this industry. And so I'm just trying to tough it out and hope that someday she'll come around, you know.
It seems like a high price to pay to follow something you personally believe in so much.
It is, but I hopefully she can see that I'm truly happy, and it just stinks when someone puts conditions on their love for you. I think that's really tough, but I have a good time with it. I've personally received, hundreds of emails and tweets and things like that where people are supportive and say that maybe I've helped them overcome some confidence issues, or that it's nice that they can come home and just have somebody to talk to, stuff like that. So I don't know. I'm proud of what I do, and I think there's nothing wrong with it. So hopefully it'll come around. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what about your upbringing in general? Do you think that maybe... do you think that cam girls or people who end up in this line of work have a similar thread in their upbringing?
You have great questions. They're really good. It's really interesting that you say that, because I think there's a stigma that with women in the sex industry or who do adult work, that there's maybe some trauma in their childhood, sexual trauma or emotional trauma. And I had the most cookie cutter middle class upbringing where both of my parents were very educated, own their own businesses, in the field of law and stuff too. And I had a great upbringing. I had no sexual trauma or history. I've just always been into BDSM and had a high sex drive when I was older. I think there are many intelligent women in this industry that don't have that in the background, and some that do too. It's like any other job, that people are going to have stuff in their past, but there isn't, I don't think, a link, especially with webcamming, that I've seen where everyone is traumatized and that's why they turn to sex work.
Can you tell us about, obviously, the first time before you did your first ever show? Were you nervous before that?
So
or
scared.
To what extent? Obviously, you would have been nervous.
Yeah.
But how nervous, and how did the show go?
I was really nervous. I started on a website where it was one-on-one privates, which I have stories for days about that, because the stuff you get asked to do and the weird, interesting fetishes that people have are fascinating when it's just you and them and they're paying for your time. They feel free to say whatever they'd like and what they're into, which is kind of cool, but also kind of weird sometimes. But the first time I did a show, I was really nervous. I honestly don't really remember how it went. I remember feeling pretty comfortable and feeling kind of a rush, because I am an exhibitionist and because I do like showing off that way in a safe environment, a consensual environment. So I liked it. I mean, I kept doing it, so I must have.
So who was the first customer you had?
I don't remember. It was so long ago. I do remember some guys from my very first site too. I had a bunch of them. Some of them followed me over to the site that I'm on now, which is cool.
And how has it changed then from then to now? Obviously, you get more confidence and you get to control the show a little bit more, I guess.
Sure. Yeah, I get to control everything, and I think I've done a lot of customer service jobs, and you have a boss, and if someone says something rude to you, you have to kind of suck it up and say, "I'm so sorry, sir. How can I assist you? And maybe I can do this for you." Not with this. You can say, "Screw you," get out, and you can knock them out forever. You can say whatever you want. You completely control it. I've noticed that I've become more assertive, more confident, especially with men. if I feel like someone, in a club in Las Vegas is being rude or being creepy, I feel like I can call them out, and maybe before I would have been like, oh, please don't. And now I say that's not okay. So it's really helped with my confidence, and I don't know. I guess overall it's helped a lot with a bunch of things. I'm trying to think of other things too, but mostly confidence and assertiveness.
Yeah.
So.
And you said that you've seen it help the people who you interact with as well.
I've heard that from people. Yeah, I know that there are some people that it's hard for them to go out and talk to girls maybe, and since I'm not playing a character, and since I try and be as genuine as possible, I think it helps maybe take women off that pedestal that some guys put them on, where, we're this unreachable creature of beauty that will just shut them down if they try and talk to them. And I think it helps as cam girls to be like, hey, I'm a real person, and I'll talk to you, and maybe help you out with that, with confidence and things.
Yeah.
So.
In any sort of, sex work or anywhere that, you're obviously a beautiful young woman.
Why, thank you.
But you're not always going to be young.
Right.
So,
there's an expiration date, I think.
So what will happen with that then? Obviously you've got to think, it's a career, so you're thinking about your future.
Well,
what will happen with that?
There's granny porn, which I'm not going to do. Just kidding. Well, that's why my boyfriend, my significant other, we're business partners as well as being together. And we've created our own corporation. We've started an event with the Cam Girl Mansion where we bring all these cam girls from around the world together to bond and hang out with each other and do shows. Eventually, we're looking into production ideas as well, just so that we can eventually get behind the camera, so that I don't always have to worry about, looking a certain way or entertaining forever. There has to be another plan to it. There has to be a future.
And how do you feel about that, though? Obviously you enjoy it so much.
Yeah.
Is it a bit shit to think that, when you're 50 or something, you're not going to be able to do what you really want to do?
Well, there are some women that do it successfully at 45, 50, and I've seen that too. But I'll probably be, I don't know. I think it doesn't bother me, honestly. I'm turning 30 this year, and I'm excited about that, and I don't feel like this is a forever in front of the camera thing. I like it a lot, and I like getting to know people, and I like the attention, I like the social media aspect of it. But eventually, at some point, you do have to think that maybe you can help other girls that are younger coming up into it with the events and things. So I'm trying to focus it more on that. So I'm just trying to build a business focused around camming or around adult work where I can step aside if I need to. Yeah. It doesn't bother me to have to do that at some point. Sure. Not anytime soon, because I'm having fun.
Yeah. I guess it's sort of cool as well to think that you could provide a safe place for new girls to come in, into a world which could be a bit seedy.
It is, and it's really competitive with girls too. You're alone in your house, and everyone else, all these other cam girls are alone in their houses. And so I think people feel like a strip club, your competition is right there, and I think people feel removed and feel like they can say bad things about other girls, or they can do that sort of ugly, steal show ideas and work off of other people and take their kind of things. But hopefully with our events and getting these girls together and getting them to know each other and helping hopefully create some friendships, it takes a little bit of that, you know. So we're trying to do that. We're trying to take away that ugly, competitive, nasty side.
Bitchiness.
And there isn't really a lot of it with our events at all. There isn't a lot of cattiness, surprisingly, because I think girls do want to find like-minded people. It's a really alienating field. So.
In what way?
Sex work. There's such a huge social stigma, and sometimes you don't even realize it until you get outside of your bubble. Like with my family, I was so proud and happy with what I did and loved it, and people treated me respectfully, and I knew other girls who did it, and then you step outside of that, and you're hit with this huge shock of people still don't accept this. They still think, you're stealing husbands and boyfriends and you're disgusting or you don't respect yourself. And I can't tell you how many beautiful, intelligent women that I've met doing this. So trying to fight that stigma and trying to show that you can be a businesswoman and still embrace your sexuality and be sex positive. You can still do that in this industry.
So do you think your mum's going to come around and your sisters?
God, I hope so. It's been about, almost 3 years now. So that would be nice if they did, but I just keep being available and trying to communicate, and hopefully someday it would be nice. But I think it's a good indication of how society is as a whole. Because I mean, even if you're not accepting of your own child doing it, imagine accepting a stranger doing it. You wouldn't either. So maybe little by little we can kind of chip away at that and change the stigma, hopefully.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're going to try to contribute to that.
I love that. Thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate you guys.
Yeah. Traditionally, adult entertainment is sort of, I don't know, dudes watching porn by themselves, but you're doing a sort of a new form, which is a sort of more intimate relationship between you and, your guests, your customers.
Yeah.
Does that feel a bit too intense sometimes? Is there too much of a connection? Do people get too... Does anyone get obsessed with you?
Not with me, because my partner is such a huge part of my room. So they know I'm not single. They all know him. They're more excited about meeting him at this after party than they are me, I think, at this point.
He's the man.
He is. They're like, yeah, we love him. So not really with me. I haven't had to deal with it much. The worst I get is some random person coming and saying, I love you. And I'm like, where's my ring then? But I cut that off really fast if I feel it. There is that problem, though, with many girls that I know, especially the ones that are single, where they'll have guys push those boundaries. I do know girls who have been in relationships with campsite members, but it is rare. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think everyone's kind of come across what I like to call a skin suit regular. Like they'd wear your skin as a suit. So, but the majority of people are normal people.
Yeah.
They're just normal guys and girls that, I mean, you can interact with somebody just live like that. It's a cool thing. And I think it appeals to a lot of people, and a lot of normal, intelligent people too.
Yeah. So obviously you talked about your family and you've got your partner, M. How has this career path affected other relationships you've had?
I was pretty quiet about what I did because of the fear of rejection and people judging me for it. So I was pretty quiet to friends from back home for a long time. And then after things were definitely not okay with my mom, I decided to come out to all my friends because I was hiding it to protect her. And I've got tons of support. I think maybe it's a generational thing. I don't know, possibly. But I've surrounded myself in my life with people who accept me and accept what I do, and I don't let in people who don't. So I just keep positive people around me, and most of them are people in my industry or who accept what I do, obviously.
Yeah. You are an exhibitionist.
That's correct. How could you tell? What gave it away?
So tell us about how that, the other girls we've talked to have actually been quite introverted more so, which is quite strange to imagine that, they are, putting themselves out there while still being sort of shy.
It's the majority of girls that I've met who do this for a living are very introverted. And that was surprising to me because I'm an extrovert. I've always been kind of loud and I don't really have a lot of social anxiety, or when I meet people, I'm pretty loud. But I don't know. I've met a lot of girls who are introverted, but I think the camera and the computer and that they're just words on a screen. I think a lot of girls see it that way.
Yeah.
So they don't see it necessarily as people as much. They see it as words on a screen, so it's less intimidating and they're inside their homes. So maybe that's part of it. But I've always enjoyed sexuality, and as long as I'm in an environment where everyone's consenting to see it, I don't like making other people uncomfortable, then I feel like I can really let loose and let my exhibitionist side out.
Yeah. And have you ever felt, obviously you got people paying for your service, and does that add any pressure in terms of, have you ever had to do anything that maybe you regret?
I haven't really. I do feel a certain level of professional pressure in that I want to do a good job. Like if someone's paying me $6 a minute, I want to make sure they get a good show. Like, and that they're happy with it. I'm a pleaser by nature. I like people to be happy with the job that I do. It worked really well in customer service too, so I think these kind of have a tie-in. I've never had to do anything that I didn't want to do. I just said, I'm not comfortable with it, and I've felt since the beginning pretty confident about asserting myself that way. And I think that's one of the huge perks of the job, is that you don't have to do anything you don't want to do. Like, if you don't want to take off your clothes, you don't take off your clothes. But if you want to, you can. Mm-hmm. So it's just what you're comfortable with.
And so what is there an example of where you haven't been comfortable? Like, what wouldn't you do, basically?
Oh, gosh.
Or what have you been asked to do that you felt uncomfortable about?
Oh, there was one guy. This was fabulous. This was a one-on-one private when I first started. And he wanted me to, it was a vampire role play. Fine. He wanted me to act like I was getting bit by a vampire. No, please. Ouch. I'm terrible at role playing, obviously. And then
No, please, ouch.
No, please, ouch. I said roar when I did the Godzilla thing. And so then I was hypnotized by this Dracula. Mm-hmm. So he could tell me to do anything. That was his fantasy.
Call it the gleaming or something like that, I think.
Oh, I'm not.
When
is there a word for that?
Or something like that.
Yeah. Something like that. It was. Yeah. Oh, then wait for the rest of the story.
Why didn't you do that?
Why did you? No, that part was fine.
I paid $6.
That part was totally fine. Ooh, it was the well, and then he had me say "Heil Lord Dracula," which is a little weird, but okay, all right, fine, I'll do that. And then he said, "Pretend you're 14 and snorting coke," and I said, "Nope, bye now." So it was like this weird.
How did it get there?
I don't know. Some people, man, maybe the Dracula roleplay was like a cover for his underage drug fantasy. So stuff like that. That I've been asked to do racial roleplay, and I'm not comfortable with that. Like degrading someone's race, which I know is a huge fetish, and it's usually done like by that race, and they're fine with it. But I'm not comfortable with it personally.
Okay.
So that's something I say no to. I don't pee.
Yeah.
I won't do that.
Not on camera, obviously.
Well, I've never peed in my life. I refuse. No,
Really?
just on camera.
It's like Kim Jong-un.
Yeah, he's magical.
Yeah.
You should do an interview with him.
Yeah, that'd be good. We could make a blockbuster film.
Oh my God,
as well.
North Korea would love that.
Yeah.
You should totally do that.
So in terms of your, what word should I use
Viewers, maybe,
Viewers,
or
okay.
your guys. I
Yeah.
don't know. I call them my guys,
All right.
but they're women too. Anyway.
In terms of your guys, your viewers, have you ever worried that there might be some little spotty 14-year-old on there? Is that something that concerns you? Does it happen? Or?
I'm sure it happens. I'm sure it is. And with this age of the internet, and you can find porn anywhere for free, and a lot of people are watching that for free. I'm sure there's an underage component to it. If I hear anything about it, if I have anyone follow me on Twitter that in their bio it says they're under 18, I block and I ban. If anyone jokes about it in my room, I block, I ban. Mm-hmm. I don't want to have. I don't want to be part of that, obviously, and it does make me a little uncomfortable. But also, I understand it's, there are plenty of 16-year-old guys that found a Playboy of their dads, and they're curious about their sexuality. But it's not something that I will. I'm not going to encourage that, and if I see it, I get rid of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes me super uncomfortable, obviously.
So in terms of, obviously you're a business woman, in all this as well. Mm-hmm. Are you making good money out of this?
I am, yes. And I think there's a huge range of what you can make with camming. You can make, minimum wage. You can make crazy amounts of money too. And we've done pretty well for ourselves, I think. And there's an ebb and a flow to it. Mm-hmm. Sometimes some months aren't as good. Some months are. And that's just what you're getting yourself into when you don't have an hourly wage, where you're not guaranteed your money. But it can be very lucrative. And I think we've done a pretty good job with it. We're happy. So
can you tell us about how it's sort of charged, like what the rates of, how much does it cost for the guys who actually come on, guys and girls?
With that website, with myfreecams.com, it's they pay between 8 cents and 10 cents per token, and the girls receive no matter what 5 cents per token. Mm-hmm. It's if they buy in bulk, they get it for cheaper. If they're paying $1, we get 50 cents of that $1. So.
Yeah. Okay, so how much would it cost me if I wanted to watch your whole show just then, which was an hour and a half or 2 hours?
You could watch it for free because anyone can log on and watch as a guest.
Yeah.
The trick is...
I saw you kick a few blokes out.
Oh yeah, no, that's fun. And that's the only way that that it's worthwhile for me to have them in there is for other people to pay to get rid of them. I have huge games where people can adopt them for a month, and then if they upgrade, then they get points and they have control over their fate. Like it's a way to kind of play with the people that refuse to pay.
Yeah.
But with sites like that aren't pay per minute, where the only time you get naked is with someone who's paying, these are different, and you just have to accept that there are going to be a certain amount of freeloaders, as they're called, whatever, in the biz, that there are going to be people that watch you for free. You could watch me for free for years if you wanted to, but if you wanted to control the action, if you wanted to stop me from coming, or you wanted to talk to me, you'd have to pay this site at one point or another.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how you make money, is you find something that people want to pay for and don't mind paying for with everyone else watching for free. So you do have to make it a personal experience, which is the fun of it.
Yeah.
Because you come on there and you can get personalized attention in a room of 800 people because you're paying for it, which I think is fair.
Yeah, I suppose that is the experience that the customers want, I guess, is this interaction that they have with you.
Right.
Yeah.
And when I recognize somebody who has been awesome and has paid for their entertainment and made my life easier and my job easier, I'm happy to see them. And they know that because I'm excited to see them. I ask them how they've been. You encourage that interaction, and you get to know them because they've supported you. They've supported your life. And I think that's really cool.
And do you pick up on their different, like...
Sorry, Nick, just one sec.
Yep.
Change this light battery. Yeah, that's slowly dying.
So we just end up in darkness.
Yeah, we're going
You obviously are proud of your job.
Sure.
Are you open with new people and tell them what you do right away?
I do understand that it does make some people uncomfortable, and I don't want to make anyone uncomfortable. So if somebody asks me what I do for work, and it's a hairdresser or somebody I meet at a bar or something like that, I'll say I work on the internet. And if they kind of back off of it, or they just figure it's something else, then I'll just let them think that. But if they push, then I'll say it's adult work, without giving details, without trying to say, talk about dildos and things. But if they push dinosaurs, Godzilla outfits and Jenga. But if they push to know more, which a lot of people do, they're fascinated by it, which is kind of cool to be able to talk about it. Especially because they have something different in their head when they think of it. But then I'll tell them what I do. I'm totally fine with being open about it. It used to give me some anxiety because it's a little weird to say, "Hi, nice to meet you. I do porn." That's a little stressful. But this way I've found it's a good way to kind of ease into it. So I work on the internet. They push. I do adult work. They push. Here's what I do.
Yeah. Here's the website address.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Follow me on Twitter. Look at my vagina. That has happened when I'm drinking in a bar.
So if you had, if and when you have your own kids, if you had a daughter who was going to do the same job as you do now, how would you feel about that?
It's interesting that you ask that, because that was one of the things my mom said. She was like, how would you feel if I did it? And didn't want an answer. It was rhetorical. It was like, obviously you'd have a problem with that. And I wouldn't. I feel like exploring your own sexuality within legal boundaries, where you're happy and you're confident and you're in control of it, is perfectly fine. If I did have a kid, which I'm not interested in having children, I never really have been, although I love kids, I wouldn't have an issue with that if they were 18 and they wanted to do that and they wanted to pursue it. I don't know how I'd navigate things as they were growing up. I think that's kind of a minefield of confusing ethics and morals, but that's not something that hopefully I'll have to deal with anytime soon, or really ever. I really don't want babies. So I'll hold someone else's baby and it cries, I'll give it back.
Yeah, I know. They're the worst.
God.
Obviously, a lot of people think it's degrading to women, porn. I mean, that's probably the number one argument that people would have against it. So what are your thoughts on that?
It isn't for me. I mean, it's kind of a longer answer, because I do have fetishes that revolve around degradation and things like that in like my BDSM interests. But I am completely in control and in power in my job, more so than at any vanilla job that I had. I had bosses, I had customers that could talk to me a certain way. So I don't ever feel degraded outside of a fetish way where I'm in control of that too. Yeah. I think there probably are people that maybe do things that they don't want to do, but I think it's pretty rare. Even when I've been on porn sets, everyone there is very, it's very consensual. They're excited to be there. They're happy to be doing it. I just haven't really come across that segment really at all, honestly, and not with other cam girls I've met. Everyone's pretty much in control. And that's what you have to do when you work from home and you have to compete against all these other girls, and try and find your own way into the market. You have to kind of be smart a little bit, or else you won't make any money. You can't just go on there and say, I sure am pretty, look at my boobs, give me money. It doesn't work.
And what's some of the weirdest stuff you've been asked to do? Or, weird comments, weird requests?
Oh, gosh. I have, besides the Dracula guy, I had one guy mousetrap his balls for me. That was love. Look at you knowing all this stuff. And I didn't ask him to. He just was like, can I do this? That's cool. I had another guy lay on his bed on his back and then kick his legs up over his head and then come into his own mouth. That was kind of cool. I was like, I can't believe you're paying me.
You could see him doing
this.
That.
Is a one-on-one. Yeah,
okay.
Almost all my stories come from one-on-one stuff because, when you're in a room of like 500 people, usually the guys don't say the crazy stuff.
Yeah, right.
I had one guy who wanted me to close my mouth, puff out my cheeks, cough while making a boo-hoo-hooing sound, completely closed. So I don't know what that was, but I ended up doing it, and M could see me from the other room, and he's almost in tears. He's laughing so hard, but he has to be quiet because the guy's not supposed to know he's just sitting in the other room. Yeah. So I'm sitting there going, for like, and I didn't know whether to look sexy while doing it or like scared. And the guy was like, yes, this is what I want. This is what I want. So that was weird. But I mean, if that's your thing, you're not hurting. There's a very well-known guy, the cheese slice guy, that is well-known in cam girl circles. And he'll come in and ask for specifically American singles cheese, slices of it on your body. It cannot be mozzarella. Like it must be this. I've never had the cheese guy. Right. My life is not complete yet.
It sounds like you're missing out on the cheese guy.
I'm missing out. I'm missing out. That's all I've ever wanted was cheese guy. But it is really interesting to find out what people are into and when they're not worried about being judged because they're paying you for your time, what they like and what their specific interests are. It's fascinating to me. I mean, I have stories for days because
there's some heavy psychology involved in all this, isn't
Probably.
there? It's like, how did you decide on that thing?
Yeah, I mean, but I've been into bondage since as far as I can remember, and I don't know why. I had nothing weird in my life where I like got tied up by like a family member or something weird. I just in movies and like whenever the girl was captured, I wanted to be that girl, and I didn't know why.
On the train tracks?
The train tracks, no, because it was dangerous. I didn't like that. I liked like Wendy got kidnapped in Peter Pan and tied to the mast with all the pirates, and I was like, I want that. I don't know why. At games I would play in elementary school where I would try and get tied up and captured, and I would push to make that happen. And it just translated into something sexual later on in life, and it just is. It doesn't come from anywhere. I don't know why, but so I figure what could be wrong with that if I'm doing it consensually and I'm having a good time and people care about my safety. Yeah. So, I don't know. It's a cool life. It's interesting.
And what do you do with the rest of your life? Like, obviously, you only do this a few hours a day. It's a freelance gig. Yeah. What about the rest of the day? You sound like you've got a fair bit of freedom in your day.
I have a lot of freedom. I go to the gym a lot. Like I really got into that. I have other kind of hobbies. I make like little clay miniatures. I got into making that, like little tiny food, because I think tiny things are adorable. I play guitar and sing, so I do that in my free time. Go out with friends, go to movies, hang out with my dog and my cats. Like the rest of my life is very, very normal. I guess as some people would see it, I don't think anyone guesses what I do if they see me out or they talk to me.
Well, thank you so much.
It's such a pleasure. Thank you. Yeah. You guys are great.
Yeah, thank you. You're great as well.
Thanks.